The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper, Molly Robinson, Landry Roberts. I'm Pat. That's Coach. Welcome into another award-winning edition of this program. Coach, a beautiful weekend of football. Not so much for Auburn. They lost in overtime, so let's start there. Diego Pavia, now 3-0 lifetime against the Auburn Tigers.
You know, that guy's a winner. And I think, once again, we've seen him time after time make all the plays that it takes to win, whether we're talking about throwing. And, you look at this guy and you say, wow, he's not a great thrower, but he throws the ball well. He throws it on the run, especially how they sprint him out, move the pocket, all the RPOs and reads and the things he does. Obviously, Auburn's offense, we're going to talk about that, turned it around. But this guy's a winner. They've built this offense around him. I'm watching, we talk about Jerry Kill. I'm watching him on the sideline. You got Beck up in the press box. They got a great relationship. They got a great thing going there. And Auburn, I thought, played well, but Pavia was the difference.
You talk about coaching with that Vanderbilt coaching staff, Tim Beck, and one thing that they did that they hadn't done a whole lot of is they went fast at certain times, and that got Auburn in some personnel issues. And the big thing, and I know everybody's concentrating on defense, Coach, and I would love to hear your perspective, but what we saw, I thought, from Auburn defensively, some uncharacteristic things you've seen, but it was young players making mistakes at critical times.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about Vanderbilt putting you in a bunch of different situations. They're going to run the ball right at you. You got a lot of perimeter runs, and they have options in their throw game off their RPOs. He can throw the ball. He can run. He's going to make the plays. He doesn't dive. How has he stayed well? That's how tough this guy is. And it's built around him. The offense is dynamic because of him. So, a lot of people are knocking Auburn, but I think you got to give him and that staff a lot of credit on what they've done. It was just a great game. It was a great game. It's one of them you hate to see somebody lose that game.
All right, let's talk about the Auburn offense, because all of a sudden an offensive explosion, something that we had not seen since really the Baylor game. What did you see? What did Ashton Daniels or that offensive line do to put them in a situation to be more successful?
Well, the first thing I told y'all Monday was we've seen it. They moved a tackle to center. I can't tell you the number of times we said, we've got a spot right here that if we lose a guy, we got to do some shuffling. Not that the next guy's not got potential, but you throw a 17-year-old kid out there, I don't care who you are. That's something, throw him in the middle of the line when you can move a veteran in there, and maybe the next guy behind him is a veteran. So now all of a sudden you don't lose the experience, which is so much about the line. To me, I thought against a good, solid Vanderbilt defense, they looked good up front for the first time, really, to me, in a while. Then they played a cohesive offense as well, and I think it fit from the tempo, the way, I think, when Nick's understood the offense, that fit him. We're going to play tempo, we're going to RPO, and we were consistent throughout the game, or they were consistent throughout the game on how they were going to do it.
And it's got to be super frustrating for Auburn fans, because you knew what roster-wise this team was capable of.
Yeah.
We know what the expectations were. You continue to get the same flat result on the offensive side when Hugh Freeze was calling plays, and then you see it last week, and wow, it actually, I think, gives you a little bit of hope, a lot more hope than you had previously heading into that Iron Bowl hosting Alabama, where at least you got a fighter's chance.
They definitely have a fighter's chance. We saw that, 2 years ago. You don't know in that game at Auburn. To me, changes everything. It changes everything. I think they got a chance. They got an open date. They got a lesser team. Now, they can't treat them like a lesser team, but they've got a chance to get some guys well, totally focus in on that game. So they got a definite chance defensively. I still think that goes back to Pavia. I think it was less about what they didn't do well is that he did a good job, and that's who he is.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because we talked about this on three-man front. Was it a situation where the offense is a little bit closer to reality, or was it the fact that the defense didn't perform very well? Is that more of a reality? I know that we got a body of work that says the defense has been really, really good, but were there any concerns that you saw defensively, or was it just the fact you tip your cap to Diego Pavia?
Well, I think if we went back to the Arkansas game, that could have been a loss, and they made plays, and you have to factor takeaways in. When you coach it and you teach it, and but sometimes takeaways are luck. I mean, I hate to say that. They throw the ball right to you and you get it. And now sometimes you miss some that you should have. So I hate to use the word luck, but that was a game where they found a way to win. This was a game they didn't. But I think you got to give Vanderbilt credit to that. If they can keep some consistency offensively with what they're doing, I think they found, the same voice calling the play means a lot. And I kept going back to that. 3 different ideas, 3 different voices, grab bagging and changing and, who are we? What are we going to focus on? And I think if we're a tempo team, let's be a tempo team, and that's what I saw.
How is DJ Durkin, do you think, trying to manage that roster? Because we don't know. We hear that he's in consideration, that John Cohen is going to give him an honest look at the end of the season. But managing that roster, especially this day in NIL, the transfer portal, you got a lot of talented dudes.
Yeah.
Some claiming, hey, it's DJ Durkin, and you probably get those guys back, but there's no guarantees. How are you managing that?
Well, he's trying to point to the fact that if you play well, you got a shot to have me. And he's not going to come right out and say that, but he might say that behind closed doors. I'm sure other assistants have said that. Hey, if you like Coach, and people like familiarity. I mean, he recruited the defensive guys. They know who he is. Heck, you're sitting on offense and you've watched the defense play. You're like, man, this guy's pretty good. Oh, wait a second. I like Coach Nix. I might keep him. And that's how that is played out. That's how that's played out on interim staffs. It's like if they really – now, sometimes what will they do? They'll come and say, he has no chance. Have a good year. He's not the guy. LSU, whoever that might be. But when the players think he's got a chance, they're going to play hard for him, especially if they like him, especially if they've seen results. I'm sure that's exactly what the Vanderbilt game looked like, and they played like that. Obviously, they find a way to win that game, and he may be in consideration. So I still think, that's less of a chance. But it's still a chance. That's what they're banking on. That's what they're using. Now, back to the NIL. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when you know you're going to be there. People are calling your guys. They're hunting them up. It's the stupidity of the world we're living in right now. It makes me sick. But it is what you're dealing with. And now that you're the interim, everybody in the world is calling them.
For those saying, well, you can't go if you're John Cohen and hire this coach, because there's no way that DJ Durkin would stay around and look at all those guys, that side of the ball that aren't going to stick around. My response would be there's no guarantees with any of these guys, regardless of who's there, whether they say it or not.
No, that's not what you do. You go find the best coach, the best fit, the guy that you want, and then you say, all right, do you see yourself keeping a DJ Durkin? If it was myself, what do you see? I said, I don't have any idea. I mean, I know what I want to do, and if he fits in that, I would, if I didn't just know who my defensive coordinator would be, I think he's done a good, solid job. But at Auburn, I can get a lot of guys that I want. So in today's world, that cannot be that can't be even though it would be nice, man, I get to keep continuity, and he's done well. Maybe he is the guy, but he might not be as well.
I want to go back to something that Landrum asked just a couple minutes ago, and it has to do with the offense. It seems so pedestrian, but why in the world did they not do what they did Saturday and just throw the ball to Cam Coleman?
Yeah.
Give him more opportunities. What in the world was that staff thinking, or Hugh Freeze thinking? And I know I'm asking you to answer a question that you don't know yourself, but just help us understand from a coach's perspective how something that blatantly obvious was never done.
I have no idea. Because that's the stuff that gets people fired from me. We're going to get the ball to the guy who's head and shoulders better than everybody. He's covered, but he's not. I mean, he's not covered even, unless they're doubling like they did on the last play, which can be done. And still I might throw it to him. But you got to get him the ball. And that's why I said there's 8 a game designed to him. And then there's all the other RPOs and all the other ways to get him the ball. But you got 2 a quarter that are designed for him, shots or whatever you want to call them. That's 2 a quarter. Not counting there may be more. But because he's that good. Now you mix in your run game with your tempo. That's what I've always said about tempo, and that's what I try and explain to guys, what it does to us defensive guys. It vanillas us up. It tires us out. It wears on us. And that's already what you know, which that's the world I thought they knew was, hey, I'm going to get your signals. I'm going to go fast where you got to get your signal in, and I know what you're in. Every once in a while, I'm going to check that signal. I'm going to check it. But I'm going fast. You got to get the signal in. I know that world. I mean, that's who we thought he was. And I mean, Kiffin proves that world works. So
have you ever, not you maybe personally, but, and we're trying to analyze what Hugh Freeze was thinking. And it really doesn't matter now, but just also in echoing what Pat said, you got to think that you know it's not working.
Yeah.
Are you so married to what you do or how you think of yourself as a play caller that you're ignoring all of that and it's square peg, round hole?
First, high pressure situation. Very, very, very high pressure situation. And he's getting like I said, we hired you as the offensive caller. You hired me as the head coach. You hired my system. I want somebody calling it. Now, if he's not calling it right, I may have to change. But I'm going to oversee that. I think unless you're just got to call the play, and there's those guys. They've got to do it. Or I can't get anybody even close to me, a la Venables. Probably feels that way. And really, he's only ever been a defensive coordinator. He's never been a head coach. So he probably says, I've never even been a head coach. I might as well be the DC. Nobody is me. I don't think Freeze has been a guy that's let other people call it. He had people that call it, and then somebody's in his ear saying, you need to call it. And I think that's when that's when it got messed up. Let's go back. A lot of their other things were bad decisions on special teams and when to kick, and I'm talking about last year. Mm-hmm. I think if he would have stayed with that plan, obviously we got Nick's here shows that he's got a clue, and be the head coach. Mm-hmm. I think it probably would have turned out okay. But, hindsight's 20/20.
How difficult was it when you were a head coach and you wanted to be involved on either side of the ball, that you had to relinquish that control to those coordinators? How difficult that is? Is that just more of a personality thing from each individual coach?
It is, and I think it's an involved CEO. That was my theory. But, I'm going to tend to what I know the best. But I'm always going to be involved with it because I've seen when the head coach is just on the other side of the ball and there gets to be this great divide. You made a great point. When I know he's the offensive guy and then they're struggling, we got a problem. Wait a second, we're over here killing it. He's not doing good, and he's the head coach, especially if there's lacks of discipline or whatever. Now, I didn't see that out of them. But I think it is hard for guys, especially guys that really have just been coordinators. So they don't even really know that head coaching world. So that lends them to just be – I think the problem is when the guys don't call it, but then they're uninvolved. That's the problem we got. They really don't even know what's going on. Now, they want to cuss everybody out on game day. Yeah. Maybe they were involved at some time in their past. But they're nowhere really to be found until game day, and then they're mad at everybody. I can't stand that either. So really involved in the special teams, which gets you involved in all the decision making.
As a head coach and by trade, you're a defensive coordinator. But was there ever a time? I'm not asking for specific place where you were coaching at the time, but was there ever a time where you said, "Hey, I'm gonna take it over right now in this game. I'm gonna call this because by golly, I can live with myself if I make this call, but I can't live with myself if I let."
Well, I made a bunch of calls. Bunch of calls. But my job was to set them up prior to how we practiced all week, what it looked like, what the script looked like. That's my involvement. But I'd also go down, A1s are up, which I call the first guys. Second guys come up, A1s get 4, A2s get 4. A1s get 4, A2 on a scout team. A2s go, and I'm going down to offense. So I'm just running. I'm back and forth. And we weren't running the ball early in 2019. Brian Vincent will tell you. Everybody else went out in helmets. O-line running backs went out in full pads. We're going to start running the freaking ball. Y'all asked about running the ball. We're going to run the ball.
Hire this man today.
But it's a mentality of where's the head coach? What is he involved? I'm involved in everything. Mm-hmm. I'm in the offensive meeting room. I'm hearing what you're doing. I watch Kirby. That's what I see. I have no idea. I went to visit him. We're doing Coach Safely. I know him. But I'm watching him interact with offensive players. I know he's involved. And he's got a DC. Now, he's very involved with the defense. He's almost he's almost the co-DC. I felt that work. That's similar to how I felt, where I'm really involved with offense. I know what they're doing. I know when I want a shot. And that's what I always wanted to give my guys freedom. Second series of the game, we're going to throw it first play deep, and if it's not there, we're throwing second play. Or we're coming out throwing it deep first play. Don't worry about it. But I want you to have a 2nd and 10 ready. That's how we throw it deep. 2nd and 10 is ready to go. 3rd down's ready to go. So it's just giving them the freedom and what hurts the defense. So you're involved, and then you can let your specialty eke over to the other side.
Wow. Great conversation with Coach Bill Clark here on the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper. Smart Bank. Smart Bank makes you a smarter banker by simply going to Smart Bank.
Yeah, I had an advisory meeting yesterday with our guys at Smart Bank. Once again, just the bank is really doing well, but it always comes back to the people. I had an issue. I think I mentioned this the other day. I had an issue with a debit card, had a fraud. My debit card got canceled.
Sorry.
So I call in.
Should not give Landrum your PIN number.
I know, that was a mistake. Other than that, though, I'm talking to somebody from the South. I'm talking to somebody from
local.
Local,
there you go.
not from overseas who can understand, and I can't understand them. So good folks at Smart Bank.
Coach, the Alabama Crimson Tide, they had a big rivalry game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The offense did not look as sharp. Ty Simpson the last couple of games, not as sharp as he did during that stretch in October when Alabama was beating all the ranked teams. No running game, but they won the game at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Just your overall thoughts, 30,000-foot view of Alabama currently.
I think we can relate back to the South Carolina game. I think South Carolina gave a blueprint to LSU on tightening up to the line of scrimmage, pressure, take the run game away, but with more pressure, man coverage, make them beat you. I thought they mixed it up, but they gave them a lot of pressure. You got some zero looks. I think LSU, I think sounds like they got back to doing some things defensively. And I always go to the other team. You'll notice that. I always talk about the other team, but I think South Carolina gave some looks that LSU said, oh, okay, this is how you do it. And that which just that box and that pressure also takes away some of that running game as well. So I think some of that was LSU. Some of it was them. We keep going back to the running game. I think this is probably going to be the MO. I really do. I think moving forward, this is just who this staff is. I think they're going to run the ball because they know they need to, but I don't think they live and die with it. And so you're going to always have a problem. Now, they may go get a running back that's just so good. So I think they're always going to be solid, but they spend so much time in the throw game, so much time in the protection, so much time in those downfield throws. That's who they are. They're throw guys first. And it's hard to keep a balance. Man, it's hard to keep a balance. But I keep going back to when you need it, you're going to need one of those two.
I think Kane Womack's doing a really good job of the defense. So by no means is this an indictment or taking anything away from that performance. You give up 9 points. I don't care who you're playing this day. That's right. That's solid. But just more of a side note on LSU. As a defensive coordinator, you're watching that offense operate. Yeah. Where's the disconnect, Coach?
I think, I go back and I always say it, and I've said it a million times, what can our quarterback do? Who is he? And if this is the guy we're going with, and I think that's kind of the decision they made last year, this is a throw guy. And I think if you went back to last year, that's really what they look like. Almost air raid type offense. He's not a runner, not that he's a terrible athlete, and you build it around him. Now, you need a second guy that's kind of like that too. But if you're going to be balanced, you got to be able to run the ball. And I think that's where they are. They're trying to be balanced with no run game. So it's like you got a head coach and they're saying, hey, we want to be balanced, but they don't have the run game to go with it. And so there they are, dinking and dunking, which is what they did in that game. And I can tell when something's been mandated, like, hey, let's be balanced. But you got to be balanced in how you practice. You got to be balanced in how you work it and train it. And, and that's the problem offensively when you throw the ball down the field. And I used to say this about early spread guys. They lose their patience because it's like, wow, 2 plays, we're in the end zone. And so then and that's why we talk about Venables. I'm going to make you run the ball. I'm going to give you a box that looks like you should run it. Because you can't be patient. You got to go back to the throw game. You got to go back to once again, that's where balance comes in. What are you going to give me? You can't run the ball. We're going to throw the ball. You can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
Now, there's also going to be a guessing game and work in there, but it's like that's why you need balance to be able to do both when you need to do both.
So Brent Venables, someone that you know as well as anyone, and we talked about it before the Auburn game, what Brent Venables was going to do to try to limit Auburn's offense. So kind of give us the Bill Clark playbook here, defensively speaking. What do you think you're going to see Oklahoma throw at Ty Simpson in Alabama.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to the Tennessee mindset of now. Alabama does a better job with the second tight end. They're going to play more. It's not, probably not as extreme as Tennessee, but he's going to make them run the ball and then try and take that away with a lighter box. Guess on them, guess and load the box some and bring them all. But he's hiding kind of the fact that, okay, look, we're going to be able to run the ball because you're not packing the box.
Right. And then he's going to disguise that. And
That's right. Okay. He does a good job. There was a really good talk the other day about Elko at Texas A&M. Well, it was from Missouri's head coach, Drinkwitz, was talking about how, you want me to really tell you how he really attacked our protection? And the guy goes, yeah. And he really got into it. 4 from a side, from the weak side, some of those things, which, we need a whiteboard. We got to get our board going so we can talk some of these things. But just how a defensive guy that really understands how to attack a protection understands. And this Venables understands that. He's going to overload their protection. He's had this extra week to look at them. I mean, that's my worry. I mean, this is my nightmare. I've got a great coach over there on the other side. He's got extra time, and he ain't working on nobody else. He's working on me. He's looking at my signals. He's looking at everything. Everything that he could get from me, he's going to get, and he knows what he's doing.
And in addition, and just getting your thoughts on this, I'm guessing that by inviting the running game, he also has incredibly athletic dudes up front that can make plays.
Well,
whether you got somebody blocking you or not.
Well, he's going, and once again, this was always what I talked to the defense about, and I talk to guys about all the time, make them left-handed. What do they want to do? Who do they want to give it to? They're determined to throw to Ryan Williams. Actually, we're going to take that away. And it's like I said, there's a lot of cat and mouse here, showing opposite, using that 3 safety look. But look what he did last year to him. So
3 points.
Yeah, I mean, this guy knows what he's doing. He's had time. Couldn't be a bigger game for him. Now, Alabama's finding a way to win. They've played great all year. They've got something to prove after getting beat. This is kind of, at least for Alabama, they're pissed. I mean, these guys beat us, laughed at us, made fun of us. Yep. So they're going to have the factor of we got something to prove at home. So they got advantages here, and they are still playing well. They're finding ways to win. Their defense is playing well. So I'm still picking them, but I think Venables is going to have some stuff that's going to be harder to deal with.
So I want to go to the Alabama offensive line. I want to go to the issues they're having running the football. When you turn on an Alabama game and you're watching, are you seeing anything that jumps off the screen to you in regards to the offensive line maybe not doing their part to help this running game? Are they not getting a push? Are the running backs not the kind of caliber running backs that Alabama used to have? I mean, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think they got good running backs. I don't know if they got unbelievable running backs. They had unbelievable. I mean, you got guys that are still playing that played years ago. And, I mean, it was a freak show, and there were multiple freak shows. Now, with NIL and where I spread it out and we're a throw team and we got a good running back, it's just, once again, it's sometimes you got to be lucky. You got the right guy and he fits the scheme. And but also you've had some of the elite running backs and now you just got good. So I do think it's some of the talent. I still think it's good. Don't think it's unbelievable that they've had in the past. And that's really not who they are. You look who on that team, they're receivers. There's a reason.
Well, and the portal giveth and taketh away. And so when it's all said and done, you're identifying guys that can come in and you're going to be able to run the ball next season. How much you want to bet? Yeah.
If we say we're going to run it, they can do it, and they got the money to go do it. And that's why to keep the balance. Now, you're also in this world where people get unhappy, and we're trying to keep this guy happy, and we promise you so many throws. I don't know what they're saying in those meetings. To me, what I always want to say, we're going to do both. We're going to do both. We're going to throw it, and we're going to run it, and we're going to be great at both. I mean, we looked up one time for us, we had, people thought we ran the ball all the time. We had the top 3 receivers in yard per catch in the nation for weeks. So we threw the ball, and we threw the ball down the field, and you start talking about average yards per catch. We're gonna get you plays down the field. So I think there's plenty of offense out there. It's all in how you sell it. It's all in how you work it. I do think there are guys that are good, and I think their guys are great. I think they got good guys, and I think you got up front and just how much do you believe in the run game, and how much time are you spending in the pass game? So it's working for them. I mean, minus the first game, it's working for them. So we'll see how it goes moving forward.
Webb Concrete and Building Services, great sponsor of the Bill Clark Show.
Yeah, Phil Webb and those guys. Obviously, we got 7 locations, all the building supplies you need. I know how competitive their prices is. I got a son that works for Phil. Check these guys out. Cities all across the area, all the building supplies you need, plus concrete.
Coach, the Heisman Trophy, Ty Simpson, just a couple weeks ago, he was one of the potential leaders for that award. Now Mendoza, Indiana, he's kind of taken over that position because Indiana continues just an incredible game over the weekend against Penn State.
Man, what a game. Give Penn State a lot of credit. If you got to watch that game, Indiana was leading, thought they had it early, and Penn State just kept fighting. Of course, they're still a talented team. And then Mendoza brings them back. You had both receivers make, they had 2 receivers make a great catch. Unbelievable play at the end. He's got to be in the lead right now. And I'm going to put Pavi up there. I know he drives some people crazy, but you got to put him up there just because what he does for his team. He's winning games with him on their back. So, there are some guys that I cannot stand. I would not say he's one of those guys. He just, he's just a winner, But I think Mendoza, based on what his team's doing and the play at the end of the game, he's in the league.
And that play, the wide receiver, Omar Cooper, who caught that, just a sensational catch. But you know what was refreshing about that? You go and you look at his bio. He's an Indianapolis high school kid.
Yeah.
He got recruited, and he signed with Indiana, stuck with it.
Yep.
Now look what he's getting to enjoy. Not only last season, but what he's getting to enjoy this season.
Well, funny, I was in Indiana last week for Coach Safely. Coach Safely's growing across the nation, and I was in there. Man, you're talking about a good time to be guys meeting with an Indiana fan. Oh, he's also dad went to Notre Dame.
Oh, wow.
Coach. Kalen Clark was at his house the night before.
Pacers did pretty well.
Pacers. I happened to get a signed jersey. So
did you?
I did.
Pat.
Yeah, I just rubbed that in.
The end of this.
I rubbed that in on you guys just a little bit.
You're never going to hear the. Pat owes me a Caitlin Clark Fever jersey.
Really?
Yeah. From back when she signed. How long has she been in the league? Like 5 years now.
No,
it seems like 5 years.
2. She was injured. I got
cool,
the whole scoop. So she's doing well. Man. And I have her jersey.
Wow.
Just signed it the night before.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Man.
So I delve into other sports.
Way to rub it in.
Not just all football.
Yes,
Coach Safely,
do.
all sports.
That's right.
There you go. Donahue is another great sponsor of this program, and I know someone that you always go to in regards to your vehicle purchases.
Yeah, and it is definitely clean today, by the way, before you guys ask. Ridiculous deals, as I think of you guys when we say that. Now, guys at Donahue are just great, and, we got the Chevy Tahoes. They got all kind of truck month, right?
Yeah, you got the Silverados, 1500s. We got really good deals on those.
ChevroletDonahue.com. So
DonahueChevrolet.com.
Donahue Chevrolet, not Chevrolet Donahue.
They'll find it.
They'll find it.
Yeah,
It's
they'll
out
be
there.
fine. All right, a couple minutes left to go in this week's program. Coach, college football playoff rankings came out. Really the top 5, no big shakeup. I do want to ask you about Texas Tech because they had a big win at home against BYU. They're a fun team to watch. Your thoughts about the Red Raiders.
Yeah, they're a complete team, and that defense is good. And, how good is BYU? Obviously, I think they're good. But, that was a great win.
You think they're the greatest team in the history of college football?
They are still reeling from that.
They have not been the same since you beat them in the bowl
If you beat
game.
BYU, you're up there with anybody.
Yes.
So now Texas Tech is a new favorite of mine because they had it in them to beat that great BYU team. But no, to that point, they got some players. Obviously, the 2 guys on defense. We got the nose guard.
Rodriguez.
Yes, my goodness.
Oh, he is.
And that game should have been a lot worse. They were dominant in that game. Great fan base. They're fun to
didn't
watch.
throw tortillas on the field. They behaved.
How much time did you spend with Joey McGuire last week? Getting him ready to take on BYU.
Yeah, a lot of time. All BYU. all BYU. I really could not really help.
Do you think
somebody else.
Satake has nightmares in the middle of the night of Bill Clark?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
He really bases a lot of things on that game. He said, he wanted to be like us afterwards. No, he was a great guy, good coach, done a great job.
BYU football building, all the B's and the C's have been removed from the keyboard.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Bill Clark Show presented by Buffalo Rock Dr. Pepper. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll see you next week on the Bill Clark Show.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper.